hear my plea, oh Jah. A song for my land. I want everybody, get up out your seats. Put your hands in the air like this. Help me sing. Rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying. Another mother shedding her tears. Oh Jah, why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? So no. So many sons lost in the slaughter, blood running in the streets like water. A gun in hand knows no friend. No, warmongers selling death in my land, getting rich off the souls of the children. Can you tell me when will it end? Sing! How many more Jah must carry this load? Oh Jah, how many more Jah before we trot down Zion Road? Sing wayo, wayo, wayo. Come on, let me see those hands. Heavenly Father, won't you hear my plea? Send a helping hand for the country. In man, there's no solution. No. I'm begging for the children's future. Oh, Jah, drugs got them by the collar. How can we stop this mind pollution? Too many starving and too many hungry. Too many homeless souls in the city. It seems like there's no. Too many big shots with too much connections. Too many loopholes in Babylon system. Oh Jah, how can your children cope? Sing! How many more Jah must carry this load? How many more Jah before we trot down Zion Road? What you? Let me see those hands. Let me see the hands. If you care about our children, get up, let me see you. We can't go on each day, no. We got to find a better way. People, it's up to each of you to help our children through this cruel and torrid life, 'cause it's we who created the strife. Say, how many more time must carry this load? How many more time before we drop down Zion Road? Oh, how many more? How many more? How many more time? Hey, how many more? How many more? Oh, dear. Won't you hear my plea? I'm down on bended knees. Oh, Jah, how many more? How many more? I said I rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying, another mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. How many more? How many more? How many more? How many more?
Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. How many times have we asked that question? How many more? How many more? And that calypso by John King out of Barbados has now taken on broader significance. Broader significance. Good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Whether you're joining us from in Guyana or further afield. Welcome to tonight's edition of Politics 101. John King, how many more? How many more? Our young men are being slaughtered. Our children are being snatched away by neglect, domestic abuse. So many stories every day. How many more? So the John King's calypso has taken on broader significance. How in this land where they say we have the fastest growing economy, but all over the land, it's tragedy. Was at the funeral for the two children who died by drowning in Melanie on Saturday. On Saturday, they were buried, and we were there. A group of APNU MPs were there, and they graciously asked us to speak. Sister Simona Brooms was there from the ALP also. How many more? And I kept my ears open as I was at that funeral, as I'm wont to do. I didn't jump in my car when the service was over and beat out. In any case, I live here on the East Coast, so I didn't have to go far. Allowed me the opportunity to spend some time and to listen. And the people had a lot to say. The pain, the suffering, the children, our children being snatched away. Beneath the surface, all the shine and glitter. Beneath all of that, the faces of men and women are strained and anxious. It may not be obvious to some, but it's there. I listened. You know, some of my friends tell me, oh, you know, Dr. Hines, when you go to funeral or you go there, you have to shake hands, you know. Your friends that want you to go and take a drink and so on. I do that, you know, but I try to connect individually with as many people as I can, because that is the essence of political work. And you get to hear things. See, when you're political, you want to hear, you get to hear things, you get to hear perspectives that you would not normally hear. I feel like there is a burden on our shoulders. I feel like there's a burden on my shoulder. There's despair that things may be slipping away. I've tried in my own way to raise the alarm that something deeper is happening in our society, our country, and it's affecting African Guyanese differently than other ethnic groups. So many of us political leaders have been in denial. We refuse to deal directly with the issue of African Guyanese oppression, and that denial has offered others the space to exploit the vulnerabilities of our community. I suppose if you were to speak to Amerindian leaders, indigenous people, they will tell you the same story. I do not want to speak for them, but I suppose they would be telling you the same story. I feel like a burden.
You know that sometimes, as a writer, you write songs that you love to write. And sometimes, as a writer, you write songs that you have to write. Sometimes, as a singer, you sing songs that you love to sing. And sometimes you sing songs that you have to sing. The song I'm about to do for you falls in the category of have to sing. I hear a little black boy mother cry. Hear a little black boy mother cry. There was a little black boy, and black boy was he. The boy went to school and he come out unseen. Never learn how to read, he never learn about math. Never learn how to write, he never study about that. All he study was his speakers and clothes. He learned how to dress, he learned how to food. Now he can't get no work, he can't get no job. He decide to steal and he decide to rob. But this put a bullet through his donkey head skull. Little black boy, go to school and learn. Little black boy, I said to show some concern. Little black boy, education is the key to get you off the streets and off poverty. Little black boy, go to school and learn. Little black boy, I said to show some concern. Little black boy, education is the key to get you off the streets and all poverty. There was a little black boy, a rude boy was he. For the boy ambition was to conduct a maxi. With a ring in his nose, a gold teeth in his mouth. He feels very proud when you call him a tout. So proud was the boy never learned. He should have worked hard and buy a maxi of his own. So he hustled for $1, hustled for a smoke. He hustled so that he could buy a little coke. Now he hooked on the coke and off the maxi. And one more little black vagrant in the country. Little black boy, go to school and learn. Little black boy, I think to show some concern. Little black boy, education is the key to get you off the streets and off poverty. Little black boy, think about your race. Little black boy, when would you find your place? Little black boy, go to school and learn. And then I heard somebody mother cry. And then I heard somebody mother cry. And then I heard somebody mother cry. And I say, when you're black, you just black, you can't help but being black. But because you are black, you don't stay in the back. Be black, but be conscious. What did I say? I go be black, but be conscious. Hey. Look in the front, see who's the doctor. Look in the back, see who's the lawyer. Look in the bank, see who's the banker. Look at the business, who's the owner. Look at the staff, see who's the worker. Look at the very truck, see who's the can. Look who eating out of the garbage can. Look in the chair, see who you see too. A lot of little black boys just like you. Little black boy, go to school and learn. Little black boy, I think to show some concern. Little black boy, education is the key to get you off the streets and all poverty. Little black boy, you have to think about your little black boy, go to school and learn. Hey! Rude boy. Yeah. Listen, I'm talking to them black boy, but like they can't hear. Good God, if they hear, well, it look like they ain't care. They come from the northwest, south, and east. Hey, and they can't even go to a little petting piece. They always have to fuss and always have to fight. Little black boy, stop doing things that you know ain't right. I'm sure that most of you in here know what I say. A black boy kill another black boy down at PSA. Little black boy, show some concern. Little black boy, education is the key to get off the streets and all poverty. Little black boy, think about your race. Little black boy, when would we find our place? Little black boy, education is the key, not poverty. Little black boy, put down your gun. Little black boy, shooting people ain't no fun. Little black boy, don't put drugs in your vein. It could drive you insane. Little black boy, it would addle you. Little black boy, and before I go, I have to let you know, yes. When you're black, you're just black. You can't help but be black. But because you're black, you don't have to stay back. Be black, and be conscious. Somebody told me I should say, and be black, Then be black and be conscious. Just remember I say, be black, be conscious. I say, be black, but be conscious. I say, be black, and be conscious. I say, be black, but be conscious.
Winston Gypsy Peters, Winston Peters the Gypsy, singing there, Little Black Boy, 1997. It was deemed a controversial calypso. Many felt, including myself, that Gypsy took a broad brush. It is a harsh calypso. In fact, Pink Panther did a response to Gypsy's Little Black Boy. He pointed out that there are lots of little black boys who have done well. So many of us little black boys have escaped the ghetto. And Pink Panther felt that Gypsy had painted a negative picture and made it look as though all little black boys were bad boys. I've been thinking about that calypso these past couple of weeks. I have been thinking about the condition of African Guyanese, and I ask myself, why do people not want me or others be black, but be conscious? Why do they call me and others like me racist? Because we want little black boys to be black, but be conscious. Why? There must be a master plan. Because God knows all we try to do is to save little black boys and girls from the dangers of a world that is harsh to black people. Who feels it knows it. Who feels it knows it. Daily, 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 I have to listen to the cries of black women, to the anger of little black boys who feel as if this country has given up on them. I have to listen. And I have to carry that burden. Because when I look around, there are not too many of our leaders who are prepared to tackle the real problem. I started tonight by saying I went to that funeral for those two little children, 11 and 10 years old. Life snuffed out by official neglect. You can go in poor communities of all races, in black communities especially. And the danger, the environmental danger, I live here on the railway embankment where they're doing the 4-lane road. And so many people have been complaining about the dust. In fact, I think they have advised people to wear masks. And I myself, my allergies have been raised. I always say when I come to Guyana, when I'm in Guyana, I don't have problems with allergies, but the dust there is unbearable. And those who are building these roads, do they not think about the environmental risk to children, old people? No. No. They care about the roads and not the people. I am not saying, we are not saying they ought not to build roads. But you must do so in a way that you do not hurt the people who have to endure the harshness, the environmental harshness. It's called environmental racism. The burden is real. The burden is real. Children are dying. Those 2 children didn't have to die. I took the liberty of saying in church yesterday that I do not believe that God was ready for those 2 children. I do not believe that. I do not believe that God is such a harsh man or woman or being that he would allow 2 children to drown like that. I do not believe that. And you see, when we say God was ready for them and so they had to go, we are letting officialdom off the hook. You hear stories. The young 14-year-old child who was abused, pregnant, you know, that story. Her father is before the court for sexual abuse. The child is now 14, would have been abused when she was much younger by a family member. How many more? How many more? We live in a society that cares about the shiny things and not about the essence of our being, and that is life. Poor people, poor children are being neglected, abused, lives mean little or nothing, and we continue our merry way. The burden is heavy because we see African Guyanese being so vulnerable, and in many regards, they're not conscious of their vulnerability. They're forced to make choices, terrible choices. The choice between a penny, a dollar, and their dignity. and other leaders who are not Africans, and some of them who are Africans, are exploiting that vulnerability. That's the crime. Little black boy, Gypsy asked, little black boy, why are you killing yourself? There are little black boys who are not killing themselves. There are little black boys who are reaching for another world, another existence. But we cannot ignore the fact that a critical mass of little black boys are vulnerable. And I'm not talking here about little boys and little girls having fun. Boys will be boys, as we say. They have to have fun. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something much deeper, something that goes to the soul of our community. Gypsy singing that in 1997, 29 years ago. And it's as if it is still fresh. It becomes so difficult sometimes to speak sense and to make sense to our people. To make sense to our people. You know, last week I was trying to break down the 100,000 crash grant, and my calculation was bad, because I was making the point that if you get one cash grant per year, $100,000, that's $8,000 approximately per month. And it's $300. I said $3,000, $300 per day. $300 per day. That's what that whole thing is about. $300 per day. That's what that whole thing is about. And you want your people, you want our people to take advantage of the cash grant because it's money, however small it is. But you want to say to people, there's nothing there to be thankful for. In fact, you may be worse off at the end of the day. It's $300 a day. And you want to say to our community that you're worth more than that. I was in Linden on Friday, and I'm so glad that I went to Linden. I have to say that I'm a coward because I don't drive the highway. And so that hampers me from traveling up to that very important community. But I was determined that I was going to get up there thanks to my sister, Nima Flubes, who offered me a ride. And I went up with her and some sister activists from the East Bank. And I was so glad that I went there. I got a chance to speak with so many people, many men. And you can feel the pain. The community is crumbling. that great community of Linden. It's a great community. All communities are great. But there's some that each community has its own uniqueness. And Linden has always had its own rhythm. And that rhythm is being hampered. They tell me, you don't know who is who. Your brother is no longer your brother. Your sister is no longer your sister. Everyone is going to that community and preying on it like vultures, P-R-E-Y. Destroying the fabric, destroying the revolutionary being of that place. You can feel it. Robin W., the late Suriname poet, said, I can feel it in my bones. I can feel it in the sun. It was raining that day, and the rain stopped enough for us to have the street parliament. But you can feel, I've been going to Linden as a political activist going back 50 years from the time of Walter Rodney in the 1970s. And I always look forward to going to that place. But they've destroyed. They are destroying that community. I understand blackouts are rampant. Water. On the one hand, what they're doing to Linden is punishing Linden. But on the other hand, they punish the people so that the people will bow down to them. And they take pride in black people genuflecting. You see, what's happening in Linden and other such communities, African Guyanese, is more than APNU losing votes. You see, people look, APNU lost votes, and we have to have that conversation. But my sisters and brothers, I'm saying here tonight, what has happened in the black community is more than losing votes. We are losing the soul of our community. And sometimes you don't know whether to turn right or left. You want to be very careful. There are certain things I can't go on an APNU platform and say. Because, you know, APNU is a collection of political parties, and political parties are in the business of counting votes, and sometimes when you say certain things, it works against you electorally. And so you have to censor yourself when you're on certain platforms. You know, some people were asking me there in Linden, Dr. Hines, how come you're not speaking this afternoon? Meaning on Friday. And I was glad to be not speaking, because it gave me a chance to speak to people off the platform and to hear from them off the platform. And that community is bleeding. And the people who have destroyed that community or destroying it are wicked. Some people have led the destruction, and some people are taking advantage of the destruction. And yes, our people have to take some of the blame. However you twist it and turn it, they've been exploited. Their vulnerability is being exploited every day. But they also must take some responsibility for the condition we find ourselves in. Sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to fight against your instincts. This is not just about APNU losing votes. This is not about Aubrey Norton not being a proper leader. A lot of time we give those explanations to hide the real thing. This is about the destruction of the black man and woman in this country. Because the money that is coming from oil and gas is shaping a new society. Is altering the social relations in the society. Is reordering the society. It's changing the pecking order. Whereas Burnham and Jagan and that generation sought to equalize the society after independence, these people who are in power now, not just political power, but those with economic power, are breaking down whatever little gains be made in terms of equality. And they're taking us back to a place where we become an unequal society. And black people and Amerindian people are the very bottom. I don't know much about the Amerindian community. I don't get to go into those communities. But I know part of the black community understand what is happening, but feel helpless. And part of the community I don't think understand what's happening. I feel burdened. I feel burdened because I think some people who ought to know better are either pretending that they don't know better or willfully behaving in ways that are destroying our people. It's a heavy load. I left Linden on Friday. I feel so burdened. I feel so burdened. I was so glad that I spoke to them, mainly men. Sorry, Sister Nemo, as we were about to leave, they couldn't find me because I was around the corner chatting with a group of men, and it was getting late, and Nemo was looking around, blowing for me, checking the stack bar, and so forth. Dr. Angel Moderation. But once I told her what I was doing, she understand. Thank you, sister, for driving me and others up. And then, as I said, on Saturday, I went to that funeral of those two children, and the community came out in large numbers. The mother of the child is from Buxton, moved to Melanie. So I know her well, I know the family well. They live just two doors from where I now live and where I was born and where I grew up. And you ask, why in our communities there is so much neglect? That place only a couple of months ago, a wall fell and killed a worker just in Bachelor Adventure Paradise there. Now these two children, it's as if the Adriana Young thing has taught us nothing. Because what has happened is that the government got its way with the Adriana Young thing. After weeks and weeks of protests, they wore down our people. And then that story has just died. No one has been brought to justice. And this is what happens. Our people fight and fight and fight, and the government deliberately deny them any justice. And people just get fed up. Where is the justice for Adriana Young? Where are the cries? Where have all the flowers gone? We've gone into silence. We've gone into silence. The government has beaten us into silence. After all the cries and the hollering about Adriana Young, where are the flowers? Where have all the flowers gone? Where have all the candles gone? Where have all the voices of protest gone? As I said, I asked myself, why do you not want me to help Black people become conscious? Why you fight me when all I want is for my people to become conscious and to live as equal citizens and to feel that they're equal citizens? That's all I want. If I see an African taking advantage of an Indian, I will stand up for that Indian, as I've done before in my political life. This is not about African supremacy. I have no time in my life for African supremacy. I have no time in my life for racial supremacy of any race. All I want, as Gypsy said, be Black, but be conscious. God damn, be conscious. I've had some Black people who have compromised themselves, who have told me, Dr. Hinds, why you cussing Black people and Black young people? And it was a cuss. Imagine you're trying to make your people conscious and they say you're cussing them. Because so many of our leaders, political and non-political, have compromised themselves that they cannot open their mouth and speak honestly. Destroying our people. Leadership matters. Leadership matters. And we give all kinds of explanation. APNU must do this. APNU must do that. Aubrey Norton must step down. All kind of nonsense. When the problem is deeper, APNU must regroup. APNU must this. APNU must... No. Poor people must regroup. Black people must be regroup. Amerindian people must regroup. The onslaught of the PPP has damaged the psyche of our communities. And it is the communities that have to be regrouped. Not the party. The parties will always be there. Whether it is one of them, 1 member, 10 member, 12 member, 100 member, parties will always be there. But people ignore the root of the problem. When black people were driven to the point where they want one of their own and say, "You're too black, I can't vote for you." That is not the problem of the leader and the party. It's that the devil has gotten in to the consciousness of our people, that they engage in the kind of self-hate that Frantz Fanon talked about in Black Skin, White Masks. And we pretend that all that happened to us to do is to go into the community and everything is going to be all right. Well, I have news for you all. It is not going to be all right until black people, Amerindian people too, poor East Indian too, but I can't talk for them. Until black people recognize what the problem is. We are quickly, rapidly losing our way. And we've got to speak frankly to it. Frankly. We've been beating around the bush, tiptoeing. Because, we don't want to give the wrong impression. I love my people. I love black people. I have to love them because I love myself. They're the ones who give birth to me. I have to love them. But sometimes we have to recognize what's happening. Look how this government has dropped Cuba. Cuba's been so good to Guyana. Cuba's been good to the PPP. The PPP. And in the twinkling of an eye, to save their own political ass, they drop Cuba. In the twinkling of an eye, they have dropped black people, they've dropped Amerindian people, they've dropped poor Indian people. And they revel in the fact that we don't think that we have gotten dropped. How many more? How many more of our children? When parents feel free to sexually abuse your 12-year-old and 10-year-old children. When people engage in that kind of behaviors because they have no fear, of being sanctioned. Understand, the father of that young lady, 14-year-old child from Region 2 there, he went to court and get bail. Maybe 350,000 or something I see in the newspapers. Is this right? To ask the court for bail, the court grant him bail. But that little child remained vulnerable and has given birth at 14 years old. Because the abuse started with the father and then it moved to others. And this government is so preoccupied with roads and buildings and not preoccupied with the safety of the children. I had some interaction with the Minister of Human and Social Services, Dr. Prasad. And she's a very pleasant lady. I was remarking to some friends over the weekend that I never saw that lady in 2 weeks heckle anybody in Parliament. I never saw that lady behave in a harsh way like the majority of them on the PPP side. I asked her a few questions and she was quite patient with me in answering my questions. And I have no doubt that that ministry is trying its best to deal with the problems, the human problems. They did an investigation into that story there in Region 2. But the investigation is after the fact. We have to prevent our children from being abused. And that ministry has to be more equipped. More equipped to put in place preventative measures to prevent our children from being abused. So I'm not blaming the ministry. What I'm blaming is the environment that this government has created that makes it so easy to abuse children. If the killers and abusers of Adriana Young could do what they did to that child and get away, then others beneath will believe that they can do the same thing and get away. And that's what happened in our society. It's not just people curry favoring with the government. It's that the government, in a sense, is curry favoring with the worst people in our society. Where have all the flowers gone? We cried for Adriana Young. We wept. And the government has beaten us into silence. That is one of the problems in this society. I went up to the University of Guyana a week ago. Quiet. Quiet. A university, quiet. Look, I do what we must do, and that is we must expose the government. But I think we have to go beyond exposing the government. We've got to teach our people. We've got to give our people consciousness, and that's where I think we are falling down. It's okay to expose the government, expose government corruption. We have to. But an equally important part of the job is to give our people strength and consciousness. And I think we are failing. We are failing in that regard. Where have all the flowers gone? Where have all the flowers gone? We're afraid. The leadership of this country has become so timid, the opposition leadership, the non-opposition, we've become so timid. What do we expect from our people? They become timid too. And they use that as the excuse to dabble with the devil. We got to speak truth. We have to look our people in the eye and say, you all are messing up. But we have to be prepared to show them an alternative way. People are telling you don't preach race to your people. when from morning to night they preach race to their own people. When the PPP saw the threat of a new party stealing votes away from them, they sealed off the Indian community. Seal it off. They said to the new party, not here. Because they recognize the danger, not that a new party is coming to get votes. That's the easy part. That's the good part. Every party has a right to go and get votes. So that's not a quarrel here. But they recognize the long-term danger of a certain kind of politics. And they sealed off the Indian community. But we on our side, didn't look down the road. It's not any new party can come and get votes. It has happened before. I've explained on this program. The United Force came, they got votes. The WPA came, they didn't get votes because vote wasn't the issue at the time, but they got support. AFC came and they get votes. So a new party coming and getting vote in an election is not an issue. But in the process, what is the impact on the community of a certain kind of politics? I'm not pointing finger at the new party. I'm the last person to do that. I'm not pointing finger at the new party. The new party come, you take advantage of the mess in the black community. So I'm not pointing finger at the new party. I'm pointing my fingers at the black leaders, those in politics and those out of politics. I'm pointing fingers at the black influencers, those in politics and out of politics. When people are thinking 50 years down the road, you all are thinking 3 months down the road. And it seeps down. You think Amerindians are going to tell, they may not like Schumann, they may not like this Amerindian leader, that Amerindian leader, but you think they're going to say the Amerindian leader too ugly? Indians may not like, some Indians may not like Orphan Ali and Jack Dio. But you're never going to hear them say Jack Dio and Ali ugly. And that is what we have permitted in the black community. And it's the greatest sin. And it is there. I hear it every day. The elections are over. But it's still there. And today they're going to say Aubrey Norton too black and ugly, and tomorrow it's going to be David Hines, and the next day it's going to be somebody else. We plant that ugly seed, that obscenity. I don't like the man. Do you all know what you all are doing to your community? Do you all know what you all are doing to your people in the name of some party politics? I don't like the leader. And, How can you all go back to those people and watch them? You tell them split the vote. Watch the other side. Fusing the vote because they understand this is more than about the vote. This is about power. 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 And we tell our people, split your vote. Dissolve your power. Some nonsense about minority government. Where are the brains? Where are the political brains? Maybe at some other time, you could have risked telling people to split the vote. You know, if at the end of the day, you have a power sharing government, and at the end of the day, whether you get 2% or 10% or 40%, you're going to be represented in the government, you may risk telling people to split their vote. But when you could get 49% of the vote and be out of government and out of power, you are telling people to split their votes. And the elections are over, and the mess is there. After splitting the vote, everywhere the faces of men are strained and anxious, and those leaders have gone their merry way. You see, this is not about the new party, you know. The new party do what new parties do. They upset the old, they take advantage of the alienation. People have a right, and I am not pointing fingers. People have a right to belong to any party that they belong to and join any party and move from one party to the next party and so on. People have a right. I mean, those things those things are easy. But when young people and not so young people watch me at Linden and ask me that the people who jumped ship, whether they were at all genuine in the first place, I can't tell them yes. I didn't say no because I don't know, but I couldn't say yes. And if leaders are not genuine, followers are not going to be genuine. And then the nonsense about the party having to regroup and APNU got to go on this and go. When you destroy people's consciousness, now you're talking about the party after this and the party after that. Parties, as I said, will remain. They ain't going nowhere. How many more? Look at our children. People are telling me at the funeral, look, they're sacrificing our people. And I can't argue against that. People believe it's iniquity that is at the center of the praxis of this government. How can I argue with people and they're telling me that? Because it is true. Whenever the PPP has been in power, the worst kinds of disasters occur in this country. Worst kinds. I'm not saying they're not disasters whenever the PNC or APNU. But the worst kinds of disasters. Is it coincidence? I don't know. Corruption. There's been corruption under any government. PNC government, APNU government. But corruption was not central. I oppose Burnham on the question of governance, not on the question of corruption. I'm not saying there wasn't corruption in the PNC under Burnham and Hoyt and so on, but it was not central to the governance of the country. The PPP has made corruption normative, so that the average person doesn't feel that it's wrong to be corrupt. At least under Burnham, you felt it was wrong to be corrupt. Even if there was corruption, people felt it was wrong to be corrupt. Today, the ordinary person doesn't feel it's wrong to be corrupt. If you can't beat them, join them. It doesn't mean that we mustn't expose corruption. We must continue to do it. But understand how it has become normative. Understand how our people feel about corruption. They're encouraged every day to be corrupt. That's what we are fighting against, you know. You're telling me about rebuild party, rebuild the architecture, rebuild the consciousness in the community. That's what we have to do. You can form any number of party groups and say you get a bigger party than the other parties. Beauty contest. That's what it is. And politics is not beauty contest. You can build all the party groups. If you do not build the confidence and the consciousness of your people, crappos smoke your pipe. Politics is not about beauty contests. And all those who are giving advice as to how you regroup, they're not talking about regrouping our people, regrouping the consciousness of our people. Because they don't want to touch it. I thought the leadership of the PNC and APNU made a mistake when they stayed off the streets prior to 2025. And some of our people decided that that was enough for them to go and cast their votes elsewhere. But I'm asking the question, is the new party on the streets? Is the new party on the streets? I feel that we made a mistake by giving up on the streets. But those of you who bolted because you all felt that we should have been on the streets. Is the new party on the streets? Black man, where is your God? The fabric of the community. That's where the problem is. This PPP is destroying Guyana. destroying Indian people, destroying Amerindian people, destroying black people. But because of the way black people have historically related or not related to the PPP, they're feeling the brunt of that destruction. You gotta open your eyes. Nobody don't tell me, Dr. Hines, you're preaching race. But behind my back, I know some black people, man, Dr. Hines is so much for this race thing. Shut your mouth. As a little boy tell me in the baker shop a couple of weeks ago, the man who fighting for black people, but black people not fighting for themselves. And I can't ask Indian people to fight for black people. Indian people have made a political decision, wrong or right. They have decided that, look, we hanging with the PPP. Not because they're perfect, but we dealing with the known. I cannot ask Indian people to fight for black people if black people don't want to fight for themselves. I can't ask Amerindian people to fight for black people if they can't fight for themselves. I cannot go to Amerindians and ask them to vote for APNU, go to Indian people and ask them to vote for APNU when black people are running from APNU. I's a base force, man. People can cuss me. I'm a base force, meaning you check for your base first. You secure your base. Base first, B-A-S-E. Not base only. Because you can't win with your base only. But you gotta look after your base first, because 80% of your vote, 90% of your vote got come from the base. Base first. It can't be 10 first and 90 after. It got to be 90 first and 10 after. But we allow people to tell themselves, but crossover. Crossover. The trickery, and instead of Indian people crossing over to us, it's black people who do the crossing over. The crossover. Oh, David Hines is going to make them lose because he's not thinking about crossover. Well, I was thinking about crossover. I was thinking to prevent black people from crossing over. That was my thought. But how to fight my philosophy down, black people cross over. Cross over? You are cross over. We have to talk the truth. We looking for crossover, for come. And we can see the crossover going from we. If it were just votes going, it wouldn't be a big deal. A vote is a vote, and you can lose it today and get it back tomorrow. But in the process of the votes going, what is going is your capacity to be equal citizens, because you're surrendering power to others to make decisions about where you stand in your own country. That's what it's about. It's not all lost. Never. Never. It's not never. 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 But if we don't understand what is happening, we're going to find ourselves in the same boat. Same boat. Some of us are fighting our ass off, trying to hold things together. If it were just about votes, let me repeat, I would not be as animated as I am. But the vote, how you vote, is the means towards an end. And the end is either power or no power. There's a reason why people deny you the right to vote. And having won that right through sweat and blood, hold on to it with an eagle eye. Keep your eyes on the prize. Use it to empower yourself, not to disempower your community. Use it to empower. The vote is not just individual and personal. It has collective significance. If you think about the vote just as an individual thing, then you can sell it tomorrow, day after tomorrow, no big thing. But if you see it as both personal and collective, then you take a different attitude to it. Why do they not want me and others like me to make our people conscious of the run-ins? Your leaders trying to tell you to be conscious. Gypsy said to be black. Be black, but be conscious. Be black, but be conscious. Conscious when they're stamping you down. Consciousness when when they take advantage of you. Sorry, excuse me. It's sneezing. I'm not going anywhere. We are not going anywhere. We got to see this through together. Little black boy, put down your gun. There's a more effective gun that you must pick up, and that's the gun of consciousness.